What's up, everybody? Back again for another Honkai Sorrow video, and yet again we are even closer to the second half of 3.7, right? So the Hyacine, Chibi, and Castor's banners are going to be leaving, and of course we have Cyrene is still going to be here, which is good because she's actually a pretty good support for the Part 2 characters. So yesterday we did a video on Finon, right? We talked about him, very good DPS, and here we are to talk about yet another DPS in Mydeimos. Look at him, right? Now, there's a lot of controversy around this guy because he's probably the unfortunate, like, least valued character out of the Euphorious bunch, just because he's kind of been shafted. He is also an HP scaler, so he kind of has to tango with Castorus, right? And all the buffs that Castorus got work with him, but not as good, right? One of his, I believe his talent, or one of his bonus traces gives him crit rate based on his HP, but it's at the start of battle, so Hyacine can't boost it to give him more crit rate if you don't meet the requirement. I mean, he still scales off of HP, so that's good for Hyacine, but Castor just uses his supports way better than he does, which is a bit unfortunate, right? He's still a decent DPS, but let's get into his kit and we'll talk about like light cone and team option to see if you would summon for Mydei, right? First things first, Mydei is a 5-star imaginary destruction character, right? Super sick art. I think he was the character I was the most excited about besides Phanon. I do have him, but it's a shame that I don't really use him too much anymore. His basic attack is 50% of his max HP instead of the attack 100% one, and that's pretty much it. Also, in his talent, he has a like circle gauge, right? And that will allow him to sort of transform, right? So if you're wondering what charges, that's what it means. We'll get into it when we get to his talent. So before he transforms, he has consumes HP by an amount equal to 50% of his current HP and deals imaginary damage equal to 90% of his max HP to one designated enemy and 50% to adjacent targets. Current HP is not sufficient, he will go to 1 HP. Then he has his ultimate, restores HP by 20% and his max HP and accumulates 20 talent charge points. Deals imaginary damage equal to 160 of Mydeimos max HP to one designated enemy and deals 100 to adjacent targets. Additionally, taunts the target and targets adjacent to it. Lasts for 2 turns. The next use of Godslayer be Gods prioritize attacking one designated enemy. This effect only works on the latest target, right? So the next two attacks are going to be the enhanced one, so we'll skip over to the talent. For each 1% of HP loss, accumulates 1 point of charge up to 200. When charge reaches 100, consumes 100 points of charge to enter the Vendetta state, restoring HP equal to 20% of his max HP and advances action by 100%. While the Vendetta state is active, max HP increases by 50% of the current max HP and defense remains at 0. At the start of this unit's turn, automatically uses Kingslayer be King. When charge reaches 150 points during the Vendetta state, Mydei immediately gains 1 extra turn and immediately uses Godslayer be God. Receiving a killing blow in this state, Mydei will not be knocked down, but it will clear his charge, he exits the state, and restores 50% of his max HP. So, when you are in the state and it's his turn, he will consume HP by amount equal to 30% of his current HP, deals magic damage equal to 110 to an enemy and 66 to adjacent targets, right? This ability will be automatically used. You cannot control Mydei once he transforms. That is a very interesting mechanic of him. You can always obviously time your ultimate, right? But everything else is just going to be on him. He targets pretty much the strongest enemy on the other side, which can suck if you're trying to kill the minions instead, but it is what it is, I guess. Then, once you have enough charge, he consumes 150 of charge, deals magic damage equal to 280 of Mydei's max HP to one enemy and 168 to adjacent targets. This ability will be automatically used. While this ability is in use, charge cannot be accumulated. And then he has his technique of after using his technique, pulls in enemies within a certain area and inflicts dazed on them for 10 seconds. Dazed enemies will not actively attack you. If attacking dazed enemies when entering battle, deals magic damage equal to 8% of his max HP and taunts the target lasts for 1 turn. This unit accumulates 50 points of the talent's charge, right? So you can use this and then use a different attack if you want. The thing with the Vendetta state is pretty much whenever I use Mydei, you would use his technique, go into battle, use his skill, and then you get hit like once and he's good to go. He's in the Vendetta state, right? His bonus traces are during the Vendetta state, Mydei will not during the Vendetta state, Mydei will not exit the Vendetta state. When receiving a killing blow, this effect can trigger 3 times per battle. Pretty much just keeps him in it, right? I've only ever had him die like once or twice, maybe So I've never actually exited the Vendetta state for the amount of time I've used him. The second one as well in the Vendetta state, he's immune to CC debuffs. And the third one is when the battle starts, Mydeimos max HP exceeds 4,000. For every 100 excess HP, Mydeimos crit rate increases by 1.2. His charge ratio from any target's damage increases by 2.5. And his HP restored when receiving healing increases by 0.75 up to 4,000 excess HP can be taken into account for this effect, right? So he gets 48% crit rate, right? Mine is at 7,700, which is enough crit rate to get him to 100, which is nice, right? But you just want to get as close to 8,000 as you possibly can. His stat bonuses are 37.3% crit damage, 18% HP, and 5 speed, which is all stuff he can use, right? Now, as always, I don't recommend going for dupes, but as like every character that ever exists now, his E1 and E2 are pretty solid. E1 increases the damage multiplier dealt by God Be God by to the primary target by 30%. This ability now deals all enemies imaginary damage equal to the damage multiplier dealt to the primary target. So pretty much you just do the big hit on every single enemy, and his AoE, it increases his damage by a ton. Like absolutely a ton, right? It's absolutely crazy, right? Now, the second dupe is during the Vendetta state. The damage dealt by Mydei ignores 15% of the target's defense after receiving healing, converts 40% of the healed amount to charge. The tally of the converted charge cannot exceed 40 points. Reset the tally of charge after any unit takes action. This is just helpful to get Godslayer Be God out a ton more, especially with a character like Hyacinth, right? And then obviously you now do AoE more damage, right? So his first two dupes are pretty solid, right? Overall, Mydei is a decent DPS, right? The only problem with this is if you're looking for an HP scaling DPS, Castoris is just better than him, right? Which is a shame because Mydei is very, very cool, right? It also sucks that you can't technically control him, which can be a bit annoying to some players, right? In terms of Light Cone, his Light Cone is pretty good. Increases max HP by 18% and increases incoming healing by 20%. Using his skill or ultimate consumes HP equal to 60% of the warrior's max HP and increases the damage dealt by 30%. This effect consumes HP is greater than 500. The damage additionally increases by 30%. However, I use Blades Light Cone, right? Because you can't get it from buying the Battle Pass a bunch of times, which increases crit rate by 80% and his max HP by 18%. And then when you consume HP, you get a damage increase of 24%. This Light Cone is pretty solid and helps get you even more crit rate, meaning you can easily build crit damage body if you really wanted to, right? Overall, you could just use one of the many Battle Pass Light Cones for destruction that are pretty solid, but most of his best options are, funny enough, revolve around the Battle Pass, right? So do keep that in mind when going for a Light Cone for him, right? Because he can't use Aeon because he doesn't scale off attack, right? Now, for his best teams, right, he, funny enough, can use Ceridra, you can use Cyrene, which Cyrene's buff on him is, it's good, but I don't know what the devs were thinking. So pretty much what she does with him is for one attack, he will immediately use Godslayer Be God with a 200% crit damage buff, right? And then it won't affect his charge, he just uses it, right? Then obviously you'd have to use her ult again to get him to use it again. But the weird thing is he gets Cleanse of CC, which he's already immune to in his Vendetta state. And then if he's not in Vendetta state, he gets an action advance to 100%, right? You're always going to be in Vendetta state, honestly. Like, he'll just automatically get into it. And he's immune to CC. So, like, what is the point of the rest of that? It's really just getting him to attack at 200% crit damage, like, twice, right? Anyway, kind of weird, but she is still very good. So, Cyrene, Ceridra, Sunday works with him. You could, I mean, Hyacinth is going to be really good with him just because, I mean, healing and increases max HP, so he will do more damage even if his crit rate buff and charge and whatnot doesn't technically work with that, right? You can use them with, like, you know, Tribby, Cypher, all that good stuff. Pretty much anything you'd use with Castoris minus Ceridra you can use with Mydei, right? Overall, though, I would probably skip him. If you're looking for a DPS, you could probably pick one of the better ones. He still will get the job done for some fights, right? But if you are not attached to the character, if you're attached to the character, I say someone for who you like, right? But if you're looking for a DPS, there's a lot better options. Hell, just run Castoris, right, at the end of the day. Which is unfortunate, because Mydei is very cool. But regardless of that, let me know in the comments if you are summoning for him, his Light Cone dupes. And yeah, thanks for watching. I'll catch you on the next one.